people think, okay, either they need to be playing a sport or like they're going to be wanting to watch TV. Like there's a lot of nuance in playing. Like it could be making dinner, and that was so fun for them. That was play for them. And I did make them clean up. Like, so I think people are like afraid of the mess. They think play of all ages needs to look a certain way.
Play on words. Play on words. This is Play on Words from Big City Readers. Here's Miss Beth.
Welcome back to the Play on Words podcast. We are talking with author of But I'm Bored, coming out in January, probably at the time of this podcast release, Lizzie Assa. Welcome back to the podcast, Lizzie.
Thank you. I love being here. I love your podcast.
Me too. In your episodes before, if you've not listened to them, you have to go listen. We talk about preschool drop off and how it's okay to cry. Like I have so many teachers that continue to say like they take notes as if it's like a master class. That one.
So glad.
Yeah. Okay. So you are known as you're a parenting strategist, an early childhood educator, the founder of the Workspace for Children, and now an author. I'm going to say best-selling, even though it hasn't come out yet, but I know it's going to be best-selling. I've been reading this so much. I'm underlining it so much. And can I just tell you, I have never felt cooler than getting someone's uncorrected proof, an advanced book. Like, I'm like, wow, I'm like in the club.
You are in the club.
Will you tell everybody, if they don't know you, a little bit about you? And then we're going to talk about play and independence and all the things.
Yeah. So I'm Lizzie Assa. I am a mom of 3 big kids now. And like you said, I'm the founder of the Workspace for Children, and now I'm an author. But my mission is really just to help parents understand. I think they know how important play is, but I want to help parents understand how simple it can be to just kind of plug it in the little micro moments in your life and how much impact that can have. You do not need to reinvent yourself as a parent. You do not need to like change how you parent. This is really just about making like small shifts, small tweaks that are going to have really big impact, not only on your child, but on your entire family unit.
I love that. So how did you come up with the title, But I'm Bored?
I think But I'm Bored is something that can feel like so anxiety inducing in parents, right? It makes us feel like, oh my God, my kid is bored. I'm not doing a good job. I'm supposed to be like entertaining them and scheduling them and doing all those things. And I really want parents to know that like, if your child comes to you and says, but I'm bored, like I want to give you a hug and pat you on the back because you have reserved time in their day and in their life for them to rest and play. So bravo to you if your kid has ever come to you and complained and whined that they were bored. And also my kids still complain that they are bored. And now I just like look at them and like point to the book and laugh. But also like, but I'm bored is not a negative thing. It's a good thing.
And I can say that I've actually seen this happen with your kids. We're on a call before, and your youngest came in at like 3 times, and you're like, okay, you can sit next to me and be bored, but I'm on this call. It was like a day off of school in real time. Okay, so this is probably something I should say for the end of the podcast. I know you're supposed to do like a slow build, right? Like you're supposed to do like the little questions, but I already have this question that came from one of my friends. Okay, so we had this event this weekend. We did like a Santa story time. You know, the age of, well, this child actually never believed in Santa. She is 8. She was just there because her mom is friends with me, wanted to hang out. She was like having a bit of a meltdown about being bored. She was just like, ugh, like so upset. And I said to my friend, I was like, oh, actually, like Lizzie would say, this is a good parenting move. I'm so glad she's saying that I'm bored. And my friend was like, yeah, but it's really me that is the problem. Like, I don't have the frustration tolerance to hear it and to like,
Totally.
Your whininess. So what do you have to say about that?
I mean, one, I also like want to validate that mom because even though I am someone who is like so steeped in the research of like boredom, rest, and play, there are times also where like I want to actually lose my mind when my kids whine and say that they're bored. So like it's allowed, right? But when we can, as a parent, really reverse our wiring, which is like if your kid is bored, that's a bad thing, reverse that in your mind of like, if my kid is bored, that is a good thing. Now, there's also a difference between productive boredom and destructive boredom, right? Because there are a lot of kids who are, you're like, if you allow them to get bored, they're going to destroy the house or they're going to break things or they're going to do all these things, right? And that is so valid, right? So it's not just about being like, oh, cool, you're bored. Good. Like, good for you. Yay. There are other steps that go into it, right? And so I like to say to, let's take maybe like a 6-year-old who's bored or the 8-year-old, right? I might say as a parent in my mind, like, okay, my kid is bored. Makes sense. She's at an event that like isn't designed for her and it's not about her and she doesn't really want to be here. So like, yes, makes sense that she's bored. Like no one's doing anything wrong. And I would also say, like, have I connected with her today? Right. Like, have we had even just like 3 minutes where like I wasn't on my phone or we weren't rushing, where I could just hear from her? Like, what do you wish you were doing instead? Like, oh, you're right. It's so annoying that you have to go to this thing, but also like it's important to me and we're going to go. So, like, you don't have to like it, but you do have to come and you do, and I do expect that like you're going to behave in a, appropriate, respectful way to our friend Beth, right? But like, I get it. And like, if you want to whine the entire way there in the car, like, get after it. Like, you're
Yeah. Like
allowed. I'm
like
not trying to change your mind about the thing. I am the grown up and I'm saying, like, you have to go to the thing, right? But
yeah,
you're allowed to be mad about it. That alone kind of really helps kids, right? And
yeah.
then I'm going to also say to her, like, beforehand, like, you might be really bored at this thing. You really don't want to go to it. Is there something you want to bring that's going to help? Right. So, do you want to bring that book that you are really into? Or maybe you have a kid who loves, I don't know, like drawing or whatever. You can say, like, you know what? Do you want to use like my really good markers that I keep on my desk and pick one or two, put them in my bag with like a couple pieces of paper? And so, like, when you're really bored at the thing, like, if you want to discreetly go and like, you know, get some drawing stuff, like that's going to be okay with me. Right. So you're going to support their boredom. You're not going to rescue them from it. Right. Like it's still going to be, she's 8. Right. So it's like still going to be her job to decide like when and where and what she's going to draw. But you, as the parent, now have like supported, like, yeah, this is hard for you. You don't like really want to go. Yeah. There might not be anything for you to do. This event isn't about 8-year-olds. So, like, how can I support you in supporting yourself?
Yeah. So, okay, so you would say, like, if they are like, you would say, "Okay, you can wind the whole way there and the whole way home, but then when we're in the event, you can't."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say like this is really important. And like you're 8. This isn't like a 3-year-old. So I think you know your child best, right? Where they are at developmentally. But like I would say it's like a pretty fair thing to say, like, we're going to this, right? Like Miss Beth is important to us. And, you know, like
Yeah.
you're not going to ruin the event for anyone else. And you have to go. Sometimes we do stuff we don't want to do, but how can I support you through it?
Yeah, this, like, letting kids be bored and teaching them to be bored is, like, I feel like we've heard so much lately. Like, this generation, they don't know how to lose, they don't know how to be alone, they don't I feel like it all kind of
Yeah.
go
I mean, I was recently having a conversation with a therapist who works with college age kids, right? And, I have a freshman in college. So I was particularly like, like, like I want to hear this. And she was saying how a lot of her clients who are really smart, these kids who grew up in these, you know, really, enrichment club sports, like parents who, really made sure they did all their homework and, were never bored actually, are now in college and they're really struggling because they're not sure how to fill their downtime. They're calling their parents over every single little decision. It feels like life and death. They're not sure how to get started without someone telling them how to start. And immediately I thought to myself, like, these aren't really college problems, these are play problems. And I'm wondering what that looked like for them when they were 4 and 5. Like, did they have time to sit on the floor and sort of like let their building crash and have a grown up who could say like, oh yeah, your building crashed, like that really stinks, like I wonder what you are going to do next. Not, what. And
Yeah.
so, and that's not to say like, oh, if you have a kid who's 10 and you haven't done that, like they're doomed. They're not. There are lots of ways you can plug in this kind of thinking for older kids. But I really do think like those executive function skills, that confidence, that self-starting, right? That is all built on the playroom floor.
I agree, and okay, so I have, in our family, our 12-year-old was said, like, "I don't know what to do today." Her dad was like, "Well, you're not playing video games all day." She had no sports that weekend, and she was like, "Well, what do I do?" And he was like, "Come up with some options." And she was like, okay. And she was like, kind of being a 12-year-old fighting back and then was like, well, I guess I want to go to Six Flags or like named things. And I was sitting there and I was like, if somebody said to me, name some things you want to do, I don't know that I could come up with things that I want to do. I'm like, what do I even like to do? Like,
Right.
I feel
But
like
but that's what it feels
right.
like for a lot of kids, right? Because think about it, like they're in school all day. People are telling them where to sit, when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, like how to raise your hand and speak, right? Like, and then they're coming home from school and they're being rushed to like, this tutor and this sport all the way until bedtime, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't have time to build that muscle of like, what do I do when no one's telling me what to do? Right. And I know, like this can sound so overwhelming for parents. And
Gonna
and I
say,
really want to peel back a couple layers to just say, like, there are so many very simple things you can start with. And also, like, if your kid doesn't know what to do, when all of a sudden those things are all ripped out from under them, like, of course they don't know what to do. And if they're whining and they're giving, like, having a hard time and giving you a hard time, like, that's really normal, right? Because, like, imagine if someone suddenly, like, pushed you into a space where you'd never been and and expected you to master it, like you wouldn't be able to, right? And so we want to like pull that back, right? And think about like kids need to build play confidence before we're just going to ask them to go off and play, right? Like that is a huge ask. Like you are a reading teacher. You're not giving like kids who are just learning to read a Harry Potter book. Like you're not
exactly.
doing that. You're reading with them. You're setting out books that are interesting to them. They are looking at the pictures on their own terms, not because someone told them that it was time to read and it is time to sit down at this table for this amount of time. That's not what's happening, right? And it's the same with play.
I was just thinking that it's like almost similar to, well, everything ties together, right? So it's just like if you think about babies that are learning to talk. I teach a baby language class. And one of the tips I give to parents is like, we're so inclined to fix the problem. Like they cry, we're like, what, you want milk? You want this? You want this? But like, what if you played dumb for a minute and you're like, what do you need? Then that gives them the
That's
space
right.
to say the word. And so we're doing the same thing. And I think it's a little bit easier to see because typically developing babies will develop their language skills. So then, parents get that
Yes,
report, okay, I did that and look at what happened. But I think this is a little bit more nuanced for people and they can't really like they need to see, they're like, well, I'm doing this and I'm not seeing exact like
that's
changes.
right.
My kid still has a meltdown. So
And
we're
also, society says to us as parents, like, good parents play with their kids. Good parents entertain their kids. Good parents, keep their kid, give them all the opportunities, right? And so, it's very counterintuitive, right? To then say, like, well, wait, I'm not. Like, me giving them the opportunity is actually saying no to that extra class. Giving them every opportunity is me saying, like, I'm going to reserve time in our schedule for play the same way I am going to sign them up for ballet lessons.
so how do you coach parents through the guilt or the fear that they have about stepping back?
Yeah, I mean, it's very real and I get it, and even as someone who, has studied play forever, there are many times as my kids have grown up that I've thought, oh my God, am I not doing enough? Should I, like, I'm not doing this how the other parents are doing it, right? And that feels scary. But I really want to help parents understand that like everything we're trying to give our kids by signing them up for the extra enrichment for, making sure they're on that club team or whatever it is, right? We're trying to give them a leg up. But if you actually go back and look into the research, giving them a leg up really is giving them time to create their own world and make sense of it, right? So when you can really look at their play as something where they are building skills, and listen, a lot of parents are going to be like, but my kid doesn't build with blocks when they play. My kid is like banging trains together and bouncing a ball against the wall. That is play. Like that is just as important as, sitting with magnetic tiles, right? They're getting the same thing out of it because they have time to like explore what's going on in their own mind and make sense of it.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on, people are like, these are the best toys that will help your child's development? Like, I
Yes.
often like, yeah, you know what the best toys are? A spoon, a bowl, a laundry basket, whatever is in front of you.
Yes. And you know what? Here's the thing. If you really want to know what's quote unquote the best for your child's development, I want you to take 5 minutes today and observe your child when they are playing, right? What are they playing with? Where are they? What are they doing? What are they working out? Those are your cues for what are the best toys for your kids. Don't reinvent the wheel. Use go all in on those. And that counts for, I was recently just telling someone a story like when my youngest was little, she loved Paw Patrol, like loved Paw Patrol. And, did I go out and buy like the pup tower and all of the things? No. But you know what I did do? I went and I got all the little Paw Patrol figurines, the mini ones, right? Because she can plug those into like her black building, the bathtub, the water table, the dirt outside. And guess what? She can bring that to the restaurant or the doctor appointment or any of those things. So not only does it give her time and space to play and practice playing everywhere she is, it gave me back time and space as a parent to not be needing to entertain her all the time, right? So you want to think about like what is your child's interest? It doesn't have to be like Legos or something that you think is like quote unquote like a developmental toy. It's what your child is interested in.
Yeah, okay, so I did something I want your opinion on these 2 things I've been doing. One, I noticed that when we have the 7th graders over, I love watching your middle school stuff because I'm like, "Yeah, same." And you did something similar to this, you did, like, a ramen setup, but I know that they love ramen, and they love pretending they have a YouTube channel, and they love making a mess, right? So we had a day off of school, and so I was like, "Okay, let's have all the friends over. I'm gonna take you to an Asian market, and you guys, I want you to look up the recipe you want to make, and we can go to the store and buy all the stuff, and then you can make your ramen." And they spent hours looking up different recipes. They rewrote it in different ways. They got colored pens, they wrote it on dry erase board, they hung it up. We went to the store, they were like comparing everything. The ramen tasted terrible, and but it was like the most fun. They played in the kitchen for 4 or 5 hours. And I think people
And not
forget.
only did they play in the kitchen, they played beforehand, they played in the store, they created a world that they could be in charge of in a larger world where they never get to be in charge, right? And so that's the same thing for like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, right? Like play gives them that container to have autonomy and to have a world where they are the main character. They get to decide what happens when and where, right? They get to make a mistake and there are no consequences. They get to, do all these things. Whereas in the real world, that's not how it is. So when you create and carve out time and space for your kids to play, you are giving them back so much control. So like not only are you building their executive function skills and all of these wonderful things, you are changing their whole outlook, their confidence, their behavior. It changes your relationship. You learn so much about who they are.
Oh my gosh, I learned so much about all the friends, and, like, they were telling all the parents, like, "Wow, Beth is so cool. She let us do this." But I think that's the thing, is that people think, okay, either they need to be playing a sport or, like, they're gonna be wanting to watch TV. Like, there's a lot of nuance in playing. Like, it could be making dinner, and that was
Mhm.
so fun for them. That was play for them. And I did make them clean up. Like, so I think people are like
Yeah.
afraid of the mess. They think play of all ages needs to look a certain way, like, "Oh, play tennis, go play in the pool, go play pretend," but it could look like a lot of other.
Yes. Yes. And there's a chapter in the book called like decoding your child's play. And it really helps you understand sort of like how to observe your child to understand, what they're telling you through their play and also like what they need, right? To be someone who plays productively. And I'm not talking about like projects or crafts or things you need to go out and buy. I'm talking about like ways you can set them up within your own home. Using things you already have, right? But it just really says to your kid, like, I see you, I value your opinion, I understand that like you are your own person with interests and questions, and you deserve like a container to figure those out within, right? And kids respond so deeply to that.
Yeah. Would you say that, I know we've talked about adult play before. Would you say that, like, part of this would be, like, parent burnout is also connected to them not playing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is like when you have kids who can play independently and love to play independently, you have parents who now have time back for themselves to fill their own bucket and play in whatever way they need and want to, right? And then they can show up as such a better version of themselves. I was just having this conversation with someone about how, but my kid always wants me to play with them. They always want me to play with them. And that makes sense, right? Because like if they've always been played with and entertained their whole life, then like, of course, that's what they're going to expect. And it's okay to change your role in their play, right? Like, there's
100%.
so much, I'm going to tell you, there's so much
Okay.
conversation online about like, you should never play with your kid. Like, you should always play with your kid, and like, honestly, you should parent however you want to parent for your unique child, right? But one thing I will tell you, if you are trying to develop play skills and independent play skills, I want you to change your role in the play, right? And so maybe, your child comes to you and says, like, you be the puppy, and a parent who's going to entertain and stay in that entertaining role is going to start barking and being funny and like, changing the plot and like being the best puppy in the world, right? A parent who wants their kids to build independent play skills is going to put their kid back in the driver's seat and say like, okay, like what should the puppy do in the game? What does the puppy sound like? Where do you want the puppy to go? You are saying to them like, you are the director and the producer and I am an extra in the cast. So
Oh, yeah.
you are in charge of your play and I am here to support you. And it's like a little bit boring. And of course, if you're someone who's always been like an amazing puppy, they're going to get annoyed at you, and it's okay to say to them, like, I know it's different. I am the puppy in charge. And this time I'm saying you're in charge. You're going to be honest with them and say, like, it's actually really important for you to be in charge in your own game because you have so many important ideas.
Wow, I feel like people are gonna be like, "This is too much work."
It sounds like a lot of work, but think about how much it's front loading though, right? Because like imagine like if you have a kid who always wants you to play with them, right? Which is probably most kids, right? And you sit there and then you're like laying on their bedroom floor, like playing Barbie, but you're like scrolling your phone, like with the other hand. Your kid knows that, right? So they're never going to get enough. It's like there's a hole in the bucket. It's like you're filling into their bucket and it's dripping right out, right? Because they don't have your undivided attention. So I would always rather you play with them for 5 solid minutes, like all in, than an hour half in, right? So
Yeah,
like it
yeah,
is so much more work to have to play half in all the time, right?
yeah.
Instead of letting them do the work.
Yes, my sister has 4 kids, and she says this well, she doesn't say it like that, but, like, whenever her kids say, "Mom, come look at this," she goes immediately because she's like, "It's going to be worse if I'm, like, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, like, finishing this." So she always, like, if she can, like, she works from home, like, sometimes it's difficult, but she, like, goes and so they don't do it all the time because they know, like, they're not asking for that because they're not getting her have attention where they're just like, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." They know when she comes and, like, looks at what they've built, like
She's really looking.
yeah. So they don't call all the time and because she yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. And I think also too, like another way to shift that from your kid wanting you all the time is to front load again in a way of, in the book we call it closing the loop. But if say your child has been building and they're not calling you or they're drawing or whatever they're doing, like coming over and saying like, hey, I don't want to interrupt you. Is it okay if I take a picture of your work so that like we could talk about it later? Or and then later bringing that up, right? Like at dinner time, like if you have a kid who loves that kind of attention, great. Or just saying like to your partner, hey, hon, look at this, drawing that, Sammy made earlier. Like I just thought it was so interesting. I wanted to show you. And now your kid gets to choose, right? Do they want to say, yeah, and guess what it's about and blah, blah, blah? Great. Or they get to just bask in the idea that like, wow, like my grown up was really paying attention to what's important to me, right?
Yeah, I wanna talk about screen time, and this might be our segue, but my nephew, I remember last year, when you're, like, watching a kid show and you're just, like, on your phone because 'cause you're like, "I'm just sitting here with you," and he was 6, and I, like, laughed at something in the movie, like, I didn't have my phone in there, I was sitting on the couch behind him, he turned around, he's like, "Aunt Beth, you're like a kid," and he, like, looked at me like he couldn't believe that I was watching the movie he was watching, and then he came and he sat next to me and was, like, laying on me, and it was like he felt so much connection.
Yes,
But I didn't think what he was watching was stupid. I cared about it because he cared about
that's
that.
right. That's right. And that actually, is the cue in to like how to support your kid in getting started with play, by noticing what's important to them, right? And then just calling that out, and really letting them see that like they are the expert on that thing and bringing that into play.
Yeah, I said to a niece or nephew or someone in my family, they got Legos, and I was like, "Oh, can I do that with you?" And they're like, "Sure." And I was like, I've never done Legos before." And they were like, "Oh, yeah." And like the attitude, it was, I think, an 11-year-old, and it was like they thought that I was like trying to like be too involved and like act like a parent or an aunt. And then they were like, "Oh, I'm the expert. Yeah, let me show you."
Yep. Yep. Because it went from, you being in charge in their worlds where they're used to being in charge, like the one tiny place they get to be in charge, right? So really shifting it to being like, you're really the expert here.
And I think kids like feel like the authenticity, like,
Yes.
like they know when you're like being like, "Wow, tell me about this," versus like, "That is really interesting. I feel like I'm not a good artist, but maybe it's because I don't draw enough. Like maybe I need to get more colors that I like to draw with." Like showing like you
Yes. Like
us.
being real, like, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I like in the book that you're like, let's be clear, I am not anti-screen time, and my son watched plenty of Thomas the Tank Engine before his second birthday.
That's
I
right.
I feel like that, speaking of real, is very helpful because I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, sure, you're the expert, Lizzie. Like, of course you did everything perfectly." But okay, so what are your thoughts on screen time? 'Cause I think people hear like, "Oh, get your kids to play more," and they think that it just means get your kids on screens less.
Right. No, I mean, listen, I love screens also. I love them personally. Like, I could scroll TikTok all afternoon. So, like, I love a screen. My kids love screens. And I really believe like you can be a child who loves play and a kid who loves screens, right? And it's just really going to be about intentionality from the grown-ups, right? And so, for me, I want play to be the default behavior, not screens. I want screens to be an intentional choice for enjoyment, but play to be the default behavior. And the way, I work with my clients to set up that kind of environment, like that's a culture thing, right? In your family. And so for us, we always kept, iPads or tablets or whatever up and out of sight and out of hand. Like that's a grown up choice, right? Because if it's just like out on the counter, like of course, like I would pick it up. Like when my phone is there, like I'm opening it, I'm checking it. And so then you're in a control battle, right? Whereas instead, if it's like up and away, but your kid knows that like every day at 4 o'clock or whatever, they get to watch their favorite show, like that's not a control issue anymore, right?
Right.
Same thing with like remotes. I never left the remotes like out on the counter. I just always put them up and away. And also, like when my kids were watching TV and they had to stop, I used to take a post-it note and I would be like, can you draw a picture or like write down of the part you were at? Because like you really love the show. And I want to make sure that if tomorrow when it's your turn to watch TV, like we could start at that same part, right? Again, it's just about being like respectful of what they are enjoying, right?
That's genius.
Oh my God, it works so well. Like it works so well because it says to kids like, "Oh, like my grown up gets that like I really like this. Like this is really important to me." And also then being like as you're turning it off, tell me what was like happening in that show. Like I heard, blah 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 happening, but like I'm so confused. Like can you
Yeah.
explain it to me while we're like transitioning to snack? Like you're not just like it's off. Now go play. No one likes that. Like no one feels good. Right?
Okay. Yes. So the thing when you said like what's in front of you, the remote's in front of you, so you're gonna do it, your screen's in front of you. I have been experimenting, how middle schoolers can be. And so in our house, like there's like you can be like, "How's your day?" And they're like, "It was a day." And so I decided to set up a puzzle in like one of the like first floor rooms so that instead I'm like, I don't ask about the day. I'm just I just happen to always be doing a puzzle when they get home. And I told my partner, I was like, this is my plan. And he was like, I mean, it was like week 4, and I am not finishing the 1,000-piece puzzle on purpose because I'm like, I know this is going to work. And then week 4, there's friends over. They all start doing the puzzle with me. They're chatting, they're hanging out. The puzzle's right there. I didn't say, come do the puzzle with me. In fact, 2 weeks before, there were friends over and they were like, her dad turned off the TV and was like, go do something else. And then he was like, you could do the puzzle with Beth. And they're like, ew, that is so boring. And then 2 weeks later, they're doing the puzzle with me. And wait for it, it gets even better. We all finished the puzzle together, like until like 11 p.m. She says, I feel so calm and relaxed. I've never done a puzzle before. This is so fun. And then it's the school store last week, like you get to bring in money and buy things. She bought a puzzle for the house. And she goes, well, because we finished that one, we need another one. And like I was like, I told you, like I was like, it was a slow game, but oh my gosh, she chose.
Like, let's take that example because that's such a good middle school example. And like, in the book, we call it play pockets, right? But it's really just about taking things that your child might like and strewing them throughout your house, right? So like if you're spending a lot of time in the kitchen, then like take your child, say you have a kid who's really into dinosaurs, right? Grab a handful of dinosaur figurines, put them at the kitchen counter, like with a lump of Play-Doh. We're not saying it's dinosaur playtime. Like, come and sit at the chair and play with your dinosaurs because they're going to be like, ew, no. But, when kids have a drive for autonomy. And so when it is their choice to come and maybe you put out like a snack next to it and also you, the grown up, are there, in the kitchen, you're not playing with them. You're not doing it for them. They get to decide if they're going to like eat the snack or do the thing. Right. But they probably are because kids want to be where we are. Right. But they want to do it on their terms. And when
This is
you say to them, like, I see you, I know what your interests are, and I'm going to set you up for success with those things, play will happen.
This is exactly what I tell parents when they're like, so we have virtual classes and one of them is about writing and drawing. And so they'll say like, oh, my kid won't do it. They're like a 5-year-old and they're resisting. And I'm like, well, stop asking them to do it. Just set it up. Set it up on the iPad, set up 2 spots. You do one and like just draw with me and let them choose. And if they don't choose, that's fine too. Just do that one 15-minute lesson and then put it away and keep setting up the spot for them to choose to come to it because
Don't change the game, right? So like kids thrive on mastery. So like it doesn't mean you're putting out a new Play-Doh thing, whatever every day. You're not doing that, right? Because you will be resentful and annoyed when your kid doesn't feel like doing it. And there will be days where your kid doesn't feel like doing it. And
yes.
2 is that like kids are learning new skills all day long at school. So like it feels really good to be able to go deep with a material that you've already mastered, right? We want to think again about play as the container for them to process their world. So they don't need a new tool to be doing it, right? So if
Yeah.
they already are successful at building with magnetic tiles, that is their tool. Go all in. Get
Yeah.
more of that tool. You don't have to up the ante. You don't have to like make the more challenging set. Nope, they're going to do that on their own when they're ready, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is, I think, hard for people to remember. Like, and I think the consistency of like, of doing it for many days in a row, like it's not going to happen instantly. Like, okay, so I know I love that you put out toys on your coffee table for no matter the age. And it's like, maybe the kids come over and they don't play with them the first day. Will you stop putting them out? No, it's like, let it keep being there. And then you're going to slowly, maybe it'll work, but give it like a month.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions. What would you say to the person that is like, play doesn't matter?
I don't know. I don't know where to start. I would ask them like, are they okay? Like, are you okay?
What? Who hurt you?
Yes.
Okay. What is the thing that you're most excited about for people that are going to read your book?
And like, I'm so excited about the part that like, it's really easy to read. So like, I really wrote it so that like, you can be like, oh, like this is where we're at right now. Okay. I'm like, I'm going to look for that chapter. I'm only reading like those 5 pages. Right. And then later on another day, like when your kid's in a different stage, you can sort of find that area of the book. I wrote it so that busy parents can just access what they need when they need it and revisit it when they need it.
Okay, you said you wrote it for busy parents. Can you give us, this is a very specific question, name the person that this book is for? Like, give them like a really, like, even like literally give them a name, a specific,
Yeah.
who is this for?
This book is for the parent who understands, they know that play is important, but also like they're not like about to homeschool their kid. They're not saying like we're not doing any activities. This is the only thing we're doing. This is for the in-between parent who wants to, feel better about their child's play and development. Also, I want them to still be able to parent the way they want to parent. I'm not trying to change how you parent. I'm trying to just help you make small shifts that will enhance that.
What do you hope the parent that reads this book feels at the end?
I want them to feel like so empowered to be like, oh my God, I know my kids so well now. Like I feel so much more confident about my relationship with my child.
Oh, I love that. And what's one thing that every parent can try today?
Every parent can try today observing their kid for 5 minutes when they're lit up about something, right? And take that as a clue and plug that in.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Okay, the book comes out January 13th?
January 13th.
13th. Oh my gosh, where can we get it?
You can get it anywhere books are sold. But if you want, yeah. And anyone who pre-orders, I'm not sure when this is coming out, but if you pre-order before January 13th, you can also get 6 months to my paid Substack.
Are you kidding me? I love
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Wow, Lizzie, thank you so much for being here, for your insight. As always, you are a national treasure.
Thanks. I absolutely love you and I love your podcast. And I'm so happy I got to come back.
Me too. Okay, and also, okay, so the book is called But I'm Bored. And where else can people find you?
People can find me. I'm on Instagram and Substack at the Workspace for Children. And of course, always at my website, workspaceforchildren.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.